At 30 years old, Leo Dorsey wasn't just a regular on the covers of business magazines. He was a whispered name in elite circles, a legend wrapped in a tailored suit. He never smiled out of politeness, never touched anyone outside of a deal. He was respected, feared, desired, but never loved. The tabloids called him the Concrete King, impenetrable, untouchable, and unforgiving. No one knew what he did in his spare time, if he even had any. The truth? Leo collected expensive watches and uncomfortable silences. Between boardrooms and empty galas, he carried a particular kind of loneliness, one even money couldn't fix. One humid Thursday night, atop a glass skyscraper, a select group of billionaires drank French champagne and gambled destinies like dice. "I bet you couldn't get an ordinary woman to fall for you in 30 days, said Ryan, his bolder, reckless business partner, flashing the kind of grin that knew exactly where to poke. Leo raised an eyebrow, swirling his whiskey slowly. "An ordinary woman? Define ordinary. Someone outside your world, no models, no CEOs, no actresses. Someone who's never even heard your name." Ryan's eyes lit up. This was no joke. Silence followed. The night skyline reflected across the glass walls, and for a second Leo felt something. Was it boredom, curiosity, or just bruised ego? Deal. The word dropped from his lips like a cold verdict. The next night, moved by an unfamiliar impulse, or maybe just hunger for something real, Leo went out alone. No security, no chauffeur, no $3 million watch. He stepped into a small bar tucked between old brick buildings in Eastwood. Dim lights, the smell of frying oil, and soft 90s music filled the air. It was perfect, and completely off script. That's when he saw her. Camila Rivera, 26, night shift waitress. Ponytail loose, a subtle wrist tattoo, and eyes that carried truth and exhaustion. She didn't recognize him, didn't stutter, just raised her notepad and asked, "You here to drink or eat something that isn't soaked in booze?" And something strange happened right then. Leo laughed, a short, real laugh, something he hadn't heard from himself in years. "Surprise me," he said. She didn't flirt, just scribbled and walked off. Camilla didn't have time for charm. She worked 2 jobs, cared for her younger sister, and lived with dreams that had learned how to go quiet. When she came back with a plate of seasoned fries and a glass of something she swore could heal a tired soul, Leo watched her with clinical attention, but for the first time without judgment. "Do you always treat customers like this?" he asked, amused. "Just the ones who look sad pretending to be important?" Her reply was fast, honest, devastatingly accurate. He nearly choked on his drink, staring at her with a mix of surprise and admiration. No one ever talked to him like that. Camilla walked off, unaware of the silent storm she'd started. That night, Leo stayed at the bar for 2 hours, watching, thinking, feeling something stir where only calculation used to live. As he left behind a ridiculously large tip. Camilla nearly refused it. "This covers my rent, you know." "Think of it as an investment in honesty," he replied at the door. She just rolled her eyes, laughing to herself. 2 blocks away, slipping into his black limousine, Leo opened his phone and messaged Ryan, found her. What he didn't know, was that the waitress wouldn't just be a challenge, she'd be his deepest mirror and his only shot at redemption. In the following days, Leo returned to the bar 3 more times, always alone, always at the same time, always asking if Camilla was on shift. "Are you stalking me, or is this some kind of therapy disguised as fancy fries?" she teased the 3rd time, with a half smile and eyes narrowed in suspicion. "Maybe it's the fries," he replied awkwardly, and it was true, or at least half of it. Camilla, as always, served with a kind of honesty that bordered on uncomfortable. No fake charm, no flirtatious games. Somehow that disarmed Leo more than any expensive dress ever could. For the first time in years, he was just himself, or what was left of him beneath all the layers of power. She had no idea who he was, and he had no idea how to handle the way she saw right through him. One of those nights he waited for her after her shift and asked if she wanted to go for a walk. She hesitated, but went. They walked in silence through empty streets lit only by streetlights and the glow of closed shop windows. They didn't look like a billionaire and a waitress. They looked like two strangers carrying similar holes inside. "Have you always been like this?" he asked, genuinely curious. "So blunt. When you grow up lying to yourself, you learn the truth is cheaper." She shrugged with a sad smile. That was the first crack, a glimpse of the pain she kept hidden beneath her strength. The next morning, Leo looked her up, found out where she lived, that she'd lost her parents young and was raising her 11-year-old sister. He could have fixed everything, paid the bills, changed her life with a click. But that wasn't the move. Not yet. At the office, Ryan laughed when he heard the updates. "You're seriously getting into this? You're going to catch feelings." "It's just a bet," Leo replied, but his voice didn't sound as certain anymore. Little by little, the visits to the bar became routine. Camilla started waiting for him, though she'd never admit it. And Leo began to feel something unfamiliar, the desire to be worthy. One rainy night, she opened up more than usual, talked about her sister, about how life doesn't pause for people born on the wrong side of the city. He listened, not to reply, but to understand. Without realizing it, Camilla was unlocking doors no one had ever dared to touch, and Leo was being pulled somewhere dangerous. The truth. But time was ticking, and the bet had a deadline. 30 days, and one brutal detail remained. She had no idea she was part of a game. That same week, Camilla was fired. Budget cuts, nothing personal, everything cruel. She left the bar with teary eyes, a tired body, and a heavy soul. When Leo found out, something inside him hurt, for real. The next day, he waited outside her sister's school, offered her a ride. She said no, offered to help. She hated it. "You don't get it, do you? I'm not charity." The words hit him like a punch. That night, Leo stared at his Italian leather shoes, soaked from the rain. He wondered how someone with so much could feel like they had so little. And then he understood Camilla didn't want to be saved. She wanted to be seen. And for the first time, Leo Dorsey wished he could be the kind of man who knew how to do that changes without ruining everything in the process. After getting fired, Camilla spent her days counting coins and her nights pretending everything was fine for her sister. Leo knew and hated knowing. Even from a distance, he pulled the right strings. He quietly paid off 3 months of overdue rent, made sure Camilla's sister got a scholarship at the nearest private school, all without leaving a trace. Then he showed up again, sat beside her at some random cafe, didn't offer anything. Just presence. "If you're here to save me again, you can leave," Camilla said, guarded. "I didn't come to save anyone. I came to share the silence." His answer surprised both of them. Camilla sighed. She knew there was something strange about that man, but she also knew that when he was around, her world felt a little less heavy. Over the next week, Leo kept helping in subtle ways: a mysterious grocery delivery, a job interview tip left anonymously, an encouraging note in her sister's school locker. Camilla had her suspicions, but the gratitude came, mixed with anger. She wanted to make it on her own. She always had. One Saturday afternoon, Leo invited her out, not to a 5-star restaurant, but to a park. They sat on the grass. She kicked off her shoes. He hesitated, then followed her lead. Uncomfortable, like a king trying to walk barefoot for the first time. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, not looking at him. "Because when I'm around you, I forget that I don't know how to feel," he answered, staring up at the sky like he was confessing to the universe. She didn't know what to say, but she leaned closer. There, shoulders touched. The silence was gentle. He opened up about his childhood, the lack of affection, how he learned to control everything, except loneliness. For the first time, Camilla saw beyond the man in the suit. She saw the lost boy who built walls to protect himself. "Maybe that's why you piss me off so much," she said with a small smile. "You remind me that other people's pain doesn't come with a price tag." That night, they kissed. A slow, hesitant kiss, like they were both afraid to feel, and even more afraid to feel nothing. Leo's world started to crumble, and he didn't know whether to hold it all together or let it fall apart. The next day, Ryan walked into the office. with a crooked smile. 30 days almost up. I bet she's falling for you. Leo said nothing. For the first time, the word bet tasted bitter in his mouth. And you, Ryan asked, are you falling for her too? He didn't answer, because he already knew, and it hurt more than he expected. That same night, Camilla found an anonymous letter in her sister's backpack, a card from the school with Leo Dorsey's name at the bottom. Her heart sank. She didn't want to believe it, but part of her had already sensed something was off. That night she didn't answer his calls, didn't reply to his texts. She sat on the porch, staring into nothing, trying to figure out when it all became a lie. And across the city, Leo stared at his phone in silence, her name glowing on the screen, and guilt building inside him like an approaching storm. He wanted to tell her everything, but how do you admit that the love was born from a lie? And is now the only truth that matters. The sound of heavy rain pounding against the window couldn't drown out the quickening rhythm of Camilla's breath. The card with Leo's name was still in her hands. Now crumpled, soaked with tears, she refused to let fall. It was true. The private school, the groceries, the notes. It had all been him. But why? She typed his full name into her phone. The internet flooded with articles, photos, interviews. The man she kissed in the park was a trillionaire. The ground vanished beneath her. The girl who had always fought, with her own hands, now realized she'd been part of a game she didn't even understand, and worse, she had trusted him. Shared stories about her mother, her sister, laughed with him, felt things that had no words. When he called, she answered in silence, just to hear his voice, just to confirm the lie. Camilla, I need to tell you something important. His voice was low, heavy, thick with hesitation. I already know, she said, her voice steady but her chest in pieces. Silence, the kind that screams. Then she continued, why did you choose me? Was I a challenge, a bet, some rich guy's joke? At the beginning, yes. He didn't lie. He couldn't anymore. The confession hit like glass shattering. On the other end of the line, she shut her eyes tightly. You were the worst kind of lie, the one that felt like the truth. He tried to explain, tried to say it had all changed. That love showed up when he least expected it, but she had already hung up. In the days that followed, Camilla disappeared. Changed her number, changed her routine, built her walls back up and stronger than ever. Leo, meanwhile, became a ghost, skipped meetings, ignored Ryan, spent his day staring at a letter he wrote but never found the courage to send. One night he returned to the bar where they met, sat at the same stool, ordered the same fries, but nothing had any taste. The waiter recognized him. You're the guy with the big tips, right? Leo just nodded. She was different. There was truth in her eyes. Not many people have that. That sentence hit him like a punch to the gut. The next day, he went to Camilla's sister's school, watched the little girl run out smiling, a new notebook in her hands, eyes full of light. He smiled too, and it hurt. In the parking lot, he froze when he saw Camilla in the distance. She saw him too, but didn't come closer. Her eyes said it all, disappointment, hurt, and a flicker of something unspoken, maybe longing. You broke me, she said when he tried to approach, and you didn't even notice how patched up I already was before. You came. Leo pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside there was no jewelry, no luxury, just a keychain she had lost in the park, with a photo of her sister. I kept it. It was the only piece of you I actually understood. He held it out. She took it, in silence. Are you still playing the game? She asked. No sarcasm, just pain. No, I lost. And honestly, I deserve to. He answered, with a sincerity in his eyes she had never seen before. And then she turned her back, not out of revenge, but because sometimes love needs distance to figure out if it's still love after the truth. Fall came early that year, and with it, Leo Dorsey disappeared from the spotlight. The company kept running, but he stepped down from leadership. The board said he was undergoing personal restructuring. No one really knew what that meant, but he did. He started therapy. For the first time, he faced his own story. The emptiness, the trauma, the walls he had built. He stopped running from pain, stopped acting like control was the only way to survive, And in every one of those quiet sessions, one name always came up: Camilla. Meanwhile, she landed a new job, became the manager of a small, cozy cafe. She worked less, smiled more, but there was still an empty space, one she pretended not to notice. Her sister was doing well, growing, learning piano through lessons that someone she never knew who had paid for month after month without saying a word. One day, Camilla arrived at the cafe and found a letter on the counter. No name, but the envelope, it was made of the same textured paper she had seen in Leo's hands months ago. She opened it with trembling fingers. The handwriting was his. I never knew what love was until I realized how much it hurt not to. Have yours, the letter began. He told her everything, about the bet, the regret, the transformation, but mostly about the desire to become someone worthy, even if she never wanted to see him again. At the end, just one sentence stood out. Life taught me how to win everything, but you were the one who taught me how to lose with meaning, she cried. Not out of sadness, but relief. Because someone finally didn't run from the truth. Days later, an envelope with her name arrived at her sister's school. It was an invitation, a charity event, created by Leo, focused on underprivileged youth. In bold letters, the Camilla. Project him a space to start again. She hesitated to go, but she went, out of curiosity, out of longing, or maybe out of faith. The venue was simple, far from the skyscrapers, but it was full of life, children, families, laughter. And then she saw him, in a plain white t-shirt, smiling as a little boy painted his face blue. He looked free. When their eyes met, no words were needed. Just a silence filled with everything they'd already said. He walked toward her slowly. I don't want to fix what I broke, I just want to be close, so I can deserve it. Camilla took a deep breath. Her heart pounded. But this time, not. From anger, from hope. You don't have to prove anything to me anymore, she said. Just don't lie again, never again. He nodded. I promise, not even to protect myself. And there, in the middle of a modest hall, at the most meaningful event of his life, they embraced. For the first time, like two people who no longer had to hide. The world kept turning around them. But between them, time stood still. For the first time, without pain, Leo was no longer the cold billionaire, and Camilla was no longer just the waitress. They were two hearts that survived themselves, because sometimes love doesn't grow where there's perfection. It grows where someone dares to say, I see you and I choose to stay.